Hey, I know the video I did last time was a bit less serious than this one, so I guarantee you I'm going to be releasing a new fanfic video next time. I'm just trying out some new things, it's my shenanigans. I hope you enjoy what I have in store for you, and, well, I hope you mentally prepare yourself to what I'm going to be reading next time.
This is Jerry. From afar, Jerry looks like a guy who was run over by 2 cars before getting shoved into a dryer and left to marinate for approximately 2 days. It is quite possible this dazed, confused and concussed shell of a man thinks he's being called out as a winner of a public lottery at a get a free spit polish of your hard meat pipe convention. Alas, you'll be wrong, because Jerry is a necromorph. A creature of dead flesh brought back to life, a puppet of necrotic tissue whose tendons are being pulled by some incomprehensible evil behind the scenes. Now, the only thing hard about ex-Jerry here are the 2 shivs of bone jutting from the creature's arms. 2 is still better than 1, so it still qualifies as an upgrade in my book, and the only thing this abomination deeply desires to penetrate is your ribcage, to transform that throbbing pump of flesh that's hidden behind your sternum into mincemeat. Fortunately, what pseudo-Jerry isn't quite aware of is that he is about to get his fecal matter kicked in by an industrial Buzz Lightyear-looking mother intercourser who was most probably raised on an exclusive diet of Resident Evil 4 and steroids. Our absolutely safe and action-deprived story starts in a world of static, with a few bits of text and the name of a classic breaking up the monotony. It is slowly replaced by the visage of what appears to be quite a hot piece of human buttocks. This must have been 1,000 repeat for whoever this message belongs to. It could have kept them company in the loneliest of nights, becoming the reason as to why the recipient's walls resemble an impressionist painting under the ultraviolet light. The static only enhances the experience, leaving the good bits up to the imagination. The shot pans out, revealing a modest ship in some sort of faster-than-light travel wormhole. Turns out the message is nothing more than an inward hologram shining right in front of our protagonist. He has a name, but since I can't be bothered to remember the names of any character in this bloody game, let's improvise a little. Let's give our silent protagonist a voice. Let's call him Seb. No, that's too boring. Let's call him Creative Seb.
Are we playing the split persona game again?
Yes, we are. This is Creative Seb, our little lab rat and the creative aspect of the whole Seb. He's responsible for everything artistic around here.
Who, mind you, also wrote the script you're appropriating.
While you, my dear listener, can call me Perverted Seb.
Please, as if they wouldn't pick up the blatantly obvious hint. After what atrocities you've committed against my creation.
You mean added some human spice to your bland white bread of a text? You're welcome, by the way.
You call the scribbles of a slobbering troglodyte with mental maturity of a 4-year-old as something spicy and humorous? A war crime, more like.
Well, I don't see you making any strides in captivating lyrical perfection as well. Will you two just shut the hell up already? You remove this bloody label right now, or God's my witness, I will punch us so hard in the face, our mother will need an army of detectives to figure out our identity. Geez, fine, sorry. Instead of childishly paced squabbles, how about you elaborate on what in the bloody intercourse are people supposed to be seeing, huh? Now, look at that absolute beauty. A rough gem, but oh, still such a gem. Indeed it is. USG Shimura. first of its kind, Planet Cracker, a ship designed to literally tear a planet chunk by chunk, a rough gem designed to rake in boatloads of diamonds and rare metals. We approach a legend, long drained of its historical grace but still proudly and devotedly performing its hideous and beautiful duty. Now is depriving a planet named Aegis 7 of its lifeblood. Brings back so many memories. Naturally, no one's picking up the bloody phone.
Serves them bloody cheapskates right.
The team of Seb starts the docking procedure, and of course it goes bloody sideways. Should have invested in better protection.
Serves us bloody cheapskates right.
A rocky landing ensues. Boom. The hard shell smashes into bare metal, madly penetrating its cold depths. The veil of blackness lifts. The Sebs argue over irrelevant matters, while the very first feature that ensures your ride is going to be unique erects its beautiful head. That bar on your spine? That's your rig, your health. Probably conceived to see if a mangled corpse drifting in space had a shred of life left in it, for the health insurance boys to have their field day. Nothing in this game is presented as a HUD icon. Ammo, objects, health, menu, shop, save station, all of them tethered to this ship, parts of a tangible world that Visceral Games has crafted. The host Seb hates the term immersive, but I think this is what you call an immersive gameplay design. Back to the present. That's Miscellaneous Seb 1. Say hello, he won't be around for long.
Hello, mate. Glad to have you on.
And Miscellaneous Seb 2.
Hope you don't get your head ripped off.
Use run to move quickly.
Yes, he knows how to run. He's not an intercoursing moron. At least I hope. We enter the ship proper and are followed by a duet of silence and burning circuitry. The most famous planet cracker, yet the guts are as barren as the Gobi Desert. Where has everyone gone? Bingo? Menstruation must be an absolute nightmare in space.
Strange. The systems have sustained quite a substantial damage. Most of them are offline. Why? At least the somewhat fresh air is flowing. Oh, the lights went out.
The metal frame is the stage, and the darkness is a call to action. The hideous bodies obscured by the shadows descend from above.
Jesus
Their malicious
Christ.
goal is terrifyingly simple: to kill. How long can you run? A child trapped under the bridge, and the bad man who once offered candy is now naked, dashing at you screaming bloody murder. You desperately sprint towards the lift, your only way out. Safe? At last? Well, what if I told you that the fat man is not going to let his little treat go so easy? The year is 2005. People got to sink their fingers into the quivering holes of Republic Commando, Time Splitters, Future Perfect, Shadow of the Colossus, their ears into Demon Days, Curtain Call, The Hits, and eyes into V for Vendetta, Batman Begins, and Madagascar. The so-called land of the free was firmly used by Hurricane Katrina as a personal toy for intercourse. Mr. Bush went for his second roundabout for his presidency, and prisoners went on hunger strike in Guantanamo Bay. Sounds simply lovely. And it's only 3 years until the American economy greatly shortens and shoves its head up its own rectum. What a time to be alive. It is in this cluster intercourse where a certain artist named Glenn Schofield came up with an idea. Having worked on the video game adaptations of The Return of the King and From Russia with Love, this walking myth and legend was burning with desire to create something unique. And so, he got to work. Event Horizon, John Carpenter's The Thing, the Alien franchise, a touch of Martyrs, and of course, Resident Evil 4. I can almost see these concepts intermingling, intertwining their sensory organs of taste, exchanging saliva, caressing each other's bodies with their facial flesh cushions. The fanfics may not be here, but the DNA remains. A man has to keep his traditions going, right? They fit like puzzle pieces, each contributing to creation of a cult classic and a masterclass in atmosphere, innovative gameplay design, and sheer terror. The rusted maws of the lift part open, spitting out the unwelcome guest.
Bloody hell, that was experience enough.
Seb is isolated from his allies, all alone in the labyrinth of rusted metal. Alone, but not utterly defenseless. Not if that friendly-looking fellow can help it. Well, go on, Sebastian. Don't be shy.
Hello, old friend. I've missed you so much.
Intercourse, yes, we did. Schofield Tools proudly presents you the Plasma Cutter, a classic in its own right, a tissue laser for surgeons. What the fuck are you? A weapon of mass decapitation in hands of a right madman.
Is the word groovy applicable to this moment?
Yes, it is. The bad man is back, greedily lunging into the throat of his new victim and tearing it open like tissue. He wants his little treat now. What he didn't quite think through, however, was that the poor child is no longer a defenseless animal. You can rest now, child. The bad man can't hurt you anymore.
Shooting him in the body. You gotta cut off the limbs. Grab a cutter, anything like that. Cut him apart.
Yes, I heard that the first 30 lectures you gave me regarding limb amputations. Thank you.
Be careful. Shooting them in the body didn't seem to work. Go for the limb.
Okay, I got you. Please stop bombarding me with tutorials already.
Oh yeah, use that stasis thing to freeze things. Don't point at your eye sockets though, unless you want some slow-mo vision.
Oh, while we're at it, do make sure to sever their limbs for me. Can we take a moment to simply appreciate just how bizarre stasis modules are? Capable of bringing many an object to a standstill, these absolutely underappreciated inventions basically act as one massive workaround in regards to broken technology and objects. Faulty tethers, shutters that don't stay open, crackhead Mike who thinks you are his runaway real doll. Just imagine how much can a company save on repairs if stasis turns out to be a cheap alternative. One thing probably many of you have noticed is just how drop-dead gorgeous Dead Space looks in certain moments, in spite of its age.
What's mere 14 years for a woman who ages like the finest of wines? Nothing I say.
The sharp and dynamic shadows creep across the walls, shielding the rough edges from the prying eyes. The mobile shadows, the flickering lights, the harsh glow of the quarantine zone. Immaculate sound design and an incredibly strong art direction, all mixed to wrap the themes of isolation, danger, chaos, decay, and madness in the flesh most terrifyingly beautiful. It is as if almost every hole, crevice, wall and hallway of the Ishimura screech is cold, calculated, efficient industrial design. You are not on a journey through vast space in luxurious suites, rivers of ethanol-based beverages, shady substances, voluptuously and scantily dressed girlfriends for rent. No. You are a cog in a 2/3 of a century-old jalopy, a rat trapped in tight corridors, living in a floating tube just wide enough not to be considered a violation of basic human rights. Each area has a distinctive feel, yet is rooted in this very industrial philosophy of efficient metallic skeletons supporting just the right amount of metal for humans not to fall and shatter every bone in their body. No matter if you're in a herbarium, medical bay, a research facility, or a morgue, you'll know exactly what sort of a depressing hellhole you're trapped in, and boy, if it's not memorable as hell. Personally, we believe that such a great and memorable world requires similarly interesting heroes and villains to bring out the true extent of its beauty.
At least if we're talking visuals.
Indeed. Glenn Schofield wanted to create something distinct and unique, channeling his spirit of innovation to craft a world both highly interesting and simply unforgettable. Innovation was the name of the game. Take a closer look at the protagonist's armor. The first iterations look like someone tossed a few scraps of metal and cheap drapes into a sewing machine in hopes of a miracle, while more advanced models resemble a cheap and bulky cosplay of the anthropomorphic Ishimura. Whatever the result, one can't deny that these suits, that spinal health bar, that unforgettable visor, that are the centerpiece of this franchise's iconography, firmly are burnt into the minds of those who even brush up against it. And what about the tools you wield? Their industrial design? Tangible blue laser sights that dynamically react with the environment, and general uniqueness sets them apart in the ocean of generic contemporaries. But why stop at weapons, the suits, or the environments? What's stopping you from also creating absolutely haunting abominations and nightmare fuel to keep a civilization awake? Event Horizon and Alien inspired the ship, the sense of dread, paranoia, isolation. Resident Evil 4 donated the gameplay formula. Can you tell me what inspired these iconic puppets of flesh? Zombies and a xenomorph. Xeno, foreign. Morph, form. Xeno is subtracted. Now we need to find a preferable prefix. Pick your favorite. What's the alternative to the word of dead? Necrosis. Necro. Necromorph. John Carpenter's The Thing slithers across the metallic floor, fusing with its new and first unofficial nickname and concept, bringing our beloved space zombies to the world. Seems familiar?
I was afraid you were neglecting my favorite part. The first two children, the merciless slashes lurking in the hallways, their silhouettes an inseparable organ of the franchise, their design most diverse, harrowing, yet something I cannot take my eyes off. Just look at the early designs of this bipedal horror. How can you not admire their twisted and brutal visage? And how about the Houndus Gleepers, the multi-terrain zombie dogs of the series? That bestial howl, those serpentine fangs that just yearn to sink into your windpipe. The bat-like infectors, the static guardians, the little demon babies called lurkers. Each one of them are unique, distinct, and iconic. Ben Wannett, the lead designer, and the rest of the crew reviewed an army of autopsy pictures, traumas and such, all in goals to create a disease that mostly had to repurpose the mass the corpse had already provided. Bones turned into blades and projectiles, intestines and muscles as whips and tails, and genitals, well, into energy, I guess? This philosophy reshaped the creatures from distinctly alien into more human. These people used to have lives, aspirations, dreams, jobs, before being horribly deformed into these monsters only stopped by forceful removal of each and every joint in their periphery. And the sound. The sound design is just impeccable across the board. The roaring machinery, the clanking of metal, indistinct whispers just behind that corner, creatures crawling in the vents. Not a single monster in sight, but the ambience itself is enough to stir stress in the hearts of an average player. Something is definitely out there. The question is, when will it rear its ugly head? And when they show up. The sharp strings, the screams and gurgles synergize into a masterful display of horror. Many try to grasp but fail miserably. Now, funny enough, there are maybe only 2 moments in the game when there's proper melody, which is quite jarring to be honest.
Glad to know you're enjoying the spotlight. Now don the mantle of a hapless protagonist once more, and let me do the talking.
Do I have to? Okay. Happy now?
I am. When it comes to gameplay, the old Seb has heard many an individual, including some of the developers, refer to Dead Space as a survival horror game. We, the Sebs, have extensively thought about this and concluded that the title more leans towards action horror. From what we gathered, survival horror leans heavily on resource management, exploration, a hub world that winds onto itself quite frequently instead of a linear path, with less emphasis on combat and such. Here, almost 2 hours into the game, Seb stood with 3 different tools, overdose levels of meds, and enough ammunition in his pulse rifle to literally cut down half the forests and inhabitants of Vietnam. And this was on hard difficulty.
And only a few in-game hours later, the duo of morons realized that they fell for the classic difficulty reset glitch where your difficulty can change from easy/hard to normal if you press continue in the menu. However, what is stated above still stands somewhat as the glitch took effect around chapter 4. Swear to God. Was the guy who ported this afflicted with hands grow out of your anusitis or something?
On a game that is notorious for its horrible controls. As long as you follow the limb rule and utilize the right tools for the right situation, you will never be starved of batteries, blades, and magazines. And where do you find these objects so vital to one's survival? Shelves, containers, defeated enemies, and boxes. I believe a YouTuber I watched as a child, the Rad Brad, referred to them as hex boxes, or something of the sort. It is incredibly sad that you cannot hurl one at the other to break them both, a feature that got fixed in the sequel. Green and blue. The game codes you to follow these 2 shades from the very start. Green are the hex boxes. Green are the miracle substances that keep your intestines from transforming into intestines. Blue are the open doors and containers. Blue are the safe stations, the HUD menus, the upgrade benches, and stores that provide you with equipment. What hue are the kinesis and stasis? The same color that literally strings you along the main path, and is only a button press away. Step aside, boring maps. All my homies follow this miracle Ariadne's thread through this industrial labyrinth. This means one can literally stray off the beaten path and explore what little there is, without fear of overlooking anything. Orange, on the other hand, locked doors and containers that shield vitally needed resources. Quarantine that isolates the survivors from the rest of the ship as the rivers of the dead flood inside. There's a joke to be made about isolation, quarantine and such, but I'm sure you've heard the same bloody thing on 1,000 other channels, so let's move on. The necromorphs are curiosity. Being literally brain dead, mostly what these creatures do is shamble, sprint, or leap towards our creative set without any sense of self-preservation. However, their lack of Carthaginian-level tactics never bothered us. Hell, this is the first moment we even thought about their AI. The reason is simple. As the level design and the diversity of these abominations more than makes up for their lack of intellect. From tight corridors to wide and open herbariums, there's always substantial chance of being attacked from multiple directions. The necromorphs don't hesitate to attack in groups, especially deep into the story. The combat evolves into a game of who takes the priority and with what tool, as you frequently have to juggle between whatever wants to play Vlad the Impaler with your corpse the most. The winged infectors prioritize intact bodies, the demon children hang back and slowly take their shot, the hentai anime protagonists slowly lumber towards you, the belly pregnant with an army of abominations, which can burst upon sustaining enough damage. The atmosphere, the tension, the room-to-room variety of enemies, and a wide arsenal ensures that combat doesn't stagnate and keeps it going from the start to the very finish. Want to hear what toys there are to keep those sacks of rot at bay? These things are wondrously versatile bunch of tools that offer up many routes of engagement on visually interesting, sound, and look amazing. Want precise shots to divorce upper limbs from bodies? Plasma cutter. Desire to suppress and tear your foes? Horse rifle. Want a plasma cutter's bigger, shotgunnier brother for crowd control? Line gun. Wish to utilize some heavy-duty equipment before danger violates your personal space? Intimate contact beam. Every tool in the game has an alternate fire mode, meaning that you can utilize 8 weapons in total. Not all of them are born equal, sadly, but a right gun in the right situation can make all the difference in the world. The upgrade system is simple. Find nodes, find a bench, and invest in their respective trees, and presto. Of course, some of these nodes will be spent on empty cases, which should be kept in mind.
Killing them can be quite a relief and a stimulation. When you're not defecating your innards out in surprise, that is. But doing so with more efficient, powerful and higher capacity tools is even more stimulating.
What? Think you're killing them?
Well, they don't seem to be a threat anymore.
And you're supposed to be the creative and observant one. How can you kill something that's already dead? Think. Necromorphs are simply reshaped corpses. What you're doing now is severing the strings of a very deadly puppet. Nothing less, and sadly, nothing more. Dead mass is dead mass. Whatever you destroy can be rebuilt. Be thankful there is not a specialized necromorph that actively goes out of its way to rebuild its brethren. Now that would be really terrifying. Just imagine it spawning at random locations in cleared rooms, making no trip a completely safe one. The probability of encountering enemies on your way back is low, but never zero.
Hey, that's my idea!
I know. If the role of a limb divorce attorney proves a tad difficult due to the sheer speed of your surprise clients, there's always a stasis module. Freeze malfunctioning doors and advancing enemies to make a breathing room and re-evaluate the situation.
That is when the intercausing thing doesn't get blocked by an enemy hitbox, or the controller forgets that I pressed it thrice before launching the blasted thing. Come on! Move!
Yeah, we need to discuss the horrible port issue soon. But before that, we also have kinesis, the lazy man's best friend. Just grab items from afar and press interact. Boom. They are in your inventory. No need to bother maneuvering this bipedal slab of metal down the corridor. Win-win.
And kinesis fares like bloody Princess Diana. Just look at this poor slug of an energy pulse. This isn't kinesis, this is was. It's like the second game stroke-ridden quadriplegic grandfather that slowly drags across your screen, can't distinguish between a bloody necromorph talon and a regular prop on top of making a diarrhea sound like an opera choir in terms of strength and impact. Give me the bloody talon, you piece of unwashed genitals! Oh, my God, even a bloody corpse got tired of faking death because the process takes so damn long! I also found that it either has a very inconsistent range or it gets caught on some environmental hitboxes, which are massive.
If we are to be honest, half of what our Sebir complained about, and rightfully so mind you, holds more weight in light of its sequel, Kinesis. Snappy and responsive, feels fast and energetic, almost as if it understands the speech of human mind. You need a bladed weapon to shoot. You get it. Stasis bolsters a more vibrant and lively look, draining those affected of it. The body doesn't feel like a sack of grease tossed on an ice rink, but as a real, mobile suit that can move to your accord. For crying out loud, even its port is superior to the current one. Here, the native 360 controller struggles with massive dead zones, while the mouse and keyboard don't fare much better. You have to disable VSync in-game and then limit the frame rate to 60 in NVIDIA control panel. Because if you don't, you are either locked in a very tight hug with 30 FPS or... Congratulations! The game just broke down in those 15 or so minutes you must tread once again. One more? Don't forget to avoid the continue button if you're playing on anything other than normal difficulty setting, because there's a chance the game will revert to normal without alerting you. This issue can only be resolved if you download Cheat Engine. Don't worry, I will link it in the description just in case. Some other known issues and fixes I will link as well. While doing a Buzz Lightyear Superman move in space is cool on paper and the first few seconds, it is 1. Disorienting as the camera thinks it suddenly ended up in a Need for Speed game, and 2. The game is inhumanly picky about where it allows you to leap, forcing you to pick very specific angles. It is not a surprise that frustration will be boiling in your system pretty quick, especially when there are environmental hazards to keep track of, and enemies that can pop from every direction. The game comes in 4 difficulties: easy, normal, hard, and impossible. Since most of the footage provided are recorded on hard difficulty, I have concluded that this game, to us at least, is somewhat easy. Throughout the playthrough, our hero Seb here had maybe 24 cases of his tormented soul leaving his body. Can you guess how many of them were orchestrated by a necromorph? None. Intercoursing none. This is with horrible controls, without reliance on kinesis as a weapon, mind you, which highlights the issue we have with this game. Somewhere in the middle of the campaign, Seb was already a twisted amalgamation of a walking bank, pharmacy, and ammo depot.
And while the tension was always there and a few jump scares were effective in terms of delivering a jolt of fear, it rarely, if ever, left me with the I'm gonna die feeling. I genuinely can't name you more than 12 cases when a necromorph slasher actually managed to land a hit on me.
And by any means, this is not the game's fault. It's actually ours. The whole Seb has been properly sinking his bony oral protrusions into the shins of this franchise for nearly a decade now. He has at least 10 cleared game slots on Dead Space 2, has beaten Dead Space 3 at least twice, and this is his second playthrough of Dead Space 1. This is all talking about legal copies, that is. And in a franchise that intimately adheres to its specific formula with such an unhealthy tightness, the monument of fear is quickly coated in a rust of routine and muscle memory. The moment a slasher surprises Seb, he answers with a shot to the leg, without a single spark of thought. It's a reflex now, second nature. They almost always crawl from the same vent, always pursue the same tactics, with only a slight hint of enemy variability or gameplay variability. Okay, I may have gone a tad harsh on this, because Dead Space 2 has some really great enemies and set pieces. It is somewhat a shame that some of them seem to exist in isolation with the rest of the roster, but we take what we get. Where do you think Seb felt closest to a game over screened by an active hostile? Act 9. Because whatever in Satan's rectum swarmed him in Act 9 was something either rarely encountered in other installments or was utterly omitted. The terror of unknown is trumped by the known, repetitiveness, extensive experience, etc. The horror is dead, and we killed it. Don't get me wrong, in spite of all what I say here, we genuinely love this franchise, and the whole Seb strongly believes it is a masterpiece in audio, horror, visual, and gameplay design. You will be shrouded in a world unlike any other, a world that will surely leave its mark deep into that little flesh bump in your chest. If you wish to create an action horror game, or conversely, smash the said action horror game face first into a nearby rock, this franchise, its inner workings, and the stories behind its development will provide help, to say the least. Also, your beloved narrator from the slight future, Creative Boy here, dove back into 2 or so hours of the impossible difficulty, and the result is pretty much the same for us. I guess the motherload we had stashed away at our USG store bunker would finally get some use, we reckon. What at first glance looks like a typical alien-infested ship scenario will get to expand into quite a horrifying little mystery, with an equally interesting lore to back it all up. The lifeless ship, a secretive religion spreading across mankind like locusts over Egypt, colonies afflicted with madness going dead silent, illegal mining operations literally tearing planets apart to satiate the overpopulated mankind's greed. They found something very valuable, something prying eyes were not supposed to see. Piece of the mysterious pie? No. Everyone wants the whole bloody thing to themselves and nobody wants to share. Could this disease be linked to whatever sliced the ship's lifeline in half? Uncovering the story is indeed quite interesting, witnessing the first-hand shock of something inhuman stalking the hallways, the inner conflict within the high-ranking individuals, etc., through the audio, text and video logs, as you slowly piece just what had transpired on this godforsaken chunk of space, and most importantly, what happened to your suited puppet's loved one. The environment also tells some interesting stories. Tales of bioprosthetics grown on board to be used as substitutes. Where do you think Lurkus most likely came from? Hell, that's someone's spine. Hey man. How about this funhouse? Obviously ritualistic in nature, a simultaneous speedrun of life to escape what horrors are next door, or maybe there's a different motive altogether. All the amazing aspects of the lore, the world of Dead Space clashes with one thing I believe are the weakest links of the story: the characters. All steps aside, the protagonist is a mute, which means he's reduced to a walking ping pong of flesh tossed around by characters who have a voice. Retrieve this thing, use that MacGuffin, we're dying, please help us. You need to go to space.
Oh, my apologies, princess. Would you also like a snack? A good firm or maybe a thorough tongue wipe of your cervix while your pelvis is firmly flattened on a comfy chair in a safe house? And our boy Seb is to be risking his life out there.
He has a point. Neither of us completely understands the concept of projecting yourself onto a silent protagonist. How can you project yourself on a body you're literally looking down on like a disembodied guardian angel?
A demon, more like.
All it does, in our opinion, is reduce the potentially good character to an absolutely hollow shell. A puppet, not unlike those it fights. A situation that forces every other character to string them and the story forward. Is this whose skin you want to be in? A voiceless nobody that, apart from specific details, seems to completely lack any agency. Bloody hell. There are even attempts at personal stakes here, which flattens on an atomic level because one of the members of that romance, guess who, has a persona of a concrete wall. Some claim that a voiced protagonist can ruin the tension and thus partially devitalize the horror. They have a point, which is why a voiced protagonist in such a situation is quite akin to a walk on thin ice under Gotham's bridge. We are inclined to believe that Dead Space 2 handled it masterfully. Finally, our hero gets his moment at the wheel and speaks only when he has to, without leaving a single blemish on the structure of horror. Both of these aspects nuke the first game's suit-clad lapdog from the orbit, making us believe we are rooting for an actual, living, breathing human being. Well, if you haven't noticed already, we believe the second game is the best one of the three. The rest of the cast don't fare like Titanic from an opposite world either. They are suspicious of each other, bicker with each other non-stop, or are stressed out of their minds. That's the whole spectrum of emotions they present. Who is this?
Oh, yeah. Oh, motherfucker. Yeah, baby. Hello, my name is Marcus, and I ride the waves of the net in my armored dumpster, looking for mods that hide both in plain sight and behind the scenes. And today, I have a special lineup for you.
Who in Lucifer's scrotum called this guy in?
Oh, I did. After all, modern communities are what guard the living games from transforming into a distant memory. He's the man who can dig some pretty interesting stuff up.
Have you ever thought about, I want to remaster my game. It's been so long, and nothing ever came. No remasters, no nothing. It's very sad. Well, I got just a mod for you. Next gen 4K ray tracing mod for Dead Space. Hell yeah. The creator of this mod says that not only does this shit introduce 4K ultra high quality textures, it also introduces global illumination. The way I see it, like, that's just a couple of words that mean one thing. Your system is gonna fucking cook. Now, words can only say so much. So check out this footage. Here you go.
What a blood-soaked eyesore! This embodies everything wrong with remasters. Go to an old game and seizure-inducing amount of bloom, visual effects, textures, combine them with jagged, simplistic, dated models and create an equivalent of digital diarrhea. Wait, you actually have to pay for this.
Alright. Stop your bitching like some hoes. God damn. I have 2 other visual marks for you, motherfucker. Chill out. First one is called Alone in Space. And I know. The name sounds kinda scary, not gonna lie. But despite the scary and simplistic name, this is no primitive mod. It's a pretty cool mod that introduces reshades that focus on color, contrast, and sharpening perception. Check out some images.
Looks pretty alright. The visual effects don't seem to be too overbearing. What in the bloody intercourse are those? They look like someone spilled water all over the bloody ship.
God fucking damn, do you ever stop bitching? Just like my ex-wife. Anyway, I got another mod for you. This is called Ultimate Vision for Dead Space.
That Ultimate Vision for Dead Space, however, does look quite interesting, in all honesty. Might want to dive back into this world with that one.
Now, if you're hungry for more, and I know you are, you ungrateful motherfuckers, I gotta say that most other mods are simple reskins of suits and costumes. But I did stumble upon a very exclusive demonstration of first-person mod for Dead Space. You heard me right. You ever walking around that scary spaceship, clenching your gun and clenching your butthole, getting that feeling inside that you're gonna get jumped any second by the most unholy, ungodly abomination of the creature? Now you can emphasize that feeling playing in first person. Hell yeah.
That actually looks curious. A new coat of paint for our beloved rust bucket, combined with the previously mentioned reshade, and one might rivet bits of new skin on the body of the old horror.
Now, that's all I got for you for today. Maybe sometime later I'm gonna call you again.
I wish you didn't.
I wish you did.
Maybe not, who knows? Depends on what I find. Alright.
Glad that's over. Well, this is sort of everything we can brush upon right now before delving into the... I want to cover a few enemies, a couple of gameplay hints, and then do a roundabout the whole story. If you do not wish to be a part of it, please skip to the timestamp and feel good about yourself. So, they left? Good. First, the gameplay spoilers. The first moment when the tense fecal matter really hit the fan was Chapter 5. What is more terrifying than an enemy you cannot harm? The enemy that can brush off everything you throw at it. The Hunter, a necromorph born from a living human, an unstoppable train of muscle that simply regrows its every lost limb indefinitely. The second moment was Chapter 9. Twitchers are an underused enemy that were completely omitted from Dead Space 2 and were somewhat present in the third one. In this chapter, however, they take the center stage. Frightening speed, deadly flurry of attacks, even a taken limb is a slight hindrance of their terrifying mobility. Unknown, the best companion of fear. These enemies are truly unknown to us, a rogue variable among an army of established ones, a great enemy that tragically gets sidelined from this very chapter down to the finale of the third game. When talking about weapons, I always advise having a weapon of mass destruction, like a force gun for example. Those soulless husks are a beloved treat of your winged friends, and if those winged friends raise an army, you can be boned. So, the best thing is, use the force gun on the cadavers. Just gather them in a neat little pile, like a sandcastle. Boom, blast them once, all the limbs will be gone. There will be nothing left to reanimate. You're profiting. Hell, what if you pop the anime protagonist's belly and revealing them horrible children? Use it. Use the force gun, they are out of this world, and out of your mind. When it comes to upgrades, there's a very simple advice on health and magazine capacity. Partially drained magazine or a rig will be fully replenished when upgraded. Keep that in mind if you wish to conserve resources. This concludes the gameplay portion of the spoilers. Now, the first chapter swiftly introduces our antagonists, brutally ends the short lives of miscellaneous Sebs, give us the plasma cutter, and has us repair a broken tram. Our orc boy and African Seb head off to sit on their rectums for half a game, if not more, and bark orders from outside our punching distance. To access the majority of the ship, one needs the captain's codes. The latter appears to be comfortably chilling inside the ship's morgue. The tram arrives, Chapter 1 ends. We retrieve the kinesis from this blind woman before she departs her mortal coil. Unfortunate. Our tin man could have used some company.
I beg to differ. Body's still warm.
What? No! No! What are you thinking?
I like where he's going. Disorder brings chaos, abolishes all morals and societal norms, you know. Every man is his own king. Though it can prove to be quite a risky encounter if a necromorph sneaks up on you while your flesh bread is firmly stuck in her cooling oven. Inside these walls of bright metal, we find a barricade in desperate need of an emergency decommission. Thankfully, the materials needed for a bloody thermite bomb can all be salvaged here in a medical facility. Here, we get the first glimpse at our secondary antagonists, the Church of Unitology. Think Space Jehovah Witnesses. If they were raised on a hefty diet of anabolic steroids, that is. Behind this horribly hidden wall, we find the first mentions of the marker. Something those people deem divine. God's work, the man in the recording says. Could this be the source of madness that derailed the minds of the colonists? The shade of white switches to a greenish tint, the bioprosthetics lab. In space, no one can take you to an emergency ER, and your employer certainly doesn't need a cripple. Here, they are grown, infant banks designed for organ donation. This is someone's spine, someone's arms and legs. These very artificial infants are transformed into the horrid lurkers that shotgun you from range.
What a horrible place to suffer an epileptic seizure. Oh sh!
The bombs are set, and we move on. The same madness spreads to the Ishimura, it seems. The fine piece of facial features claims the med personnel are kept in the dark, and the patients are simply overwhelming them with their sheer numbers. Imagine snapping out of a coma. Shout from an internal nightmare into the external one. Who will take your life first? Those demented ones? Paranoiacs suffering from delusions and hallucinations? Maybe they see themselves as your saviors. Who knows? Or will the dead beat them to the punch? There's the captain and his new friend, the infector. Notice how it flies when latching onto a body, because it originally was intended to be a flying enemy. The more you know. They create enhanced necromorphs, so do be aware of any intact cadavers, just in case. Oh, look at that. The orbit is decaying. If you don't want the ship to turn into a short-lived firefly, do something about it. Fast. The centrifuge is dead, and the fuel is in deficit.
Ah, you just know things are gonna go sideways here.
We have very fond memories of this sequence now, don't we? One thing we genuinely advise to do is to never upgrade your air canisters.
Ah, wouldn't see me getting choked give you nigh intimate stimulation.
This will keep that grip of tension firmly tight on your throat as you narrowly cut corners around death's predatory advances. That tentacle here almost drags our protagonist into its nightmarish lair in an attempt to divorce his limbs from the torso, much like it did to the game itself. Well, almost, that is. Months were sunk into the creation of this very scene, all new animations for weapons, millions of dollars, and a new approach later, we got this gruesome result. It seems the lovely duo has been split, but our mop pair found some interesting bits of information. The dementia plagued the planetary colonies even before the Shimura appeared. The disorder was directly related to an artifact dubbed the Marker. Sound familiar?
Interesting. The audio logs mentioned that fuel supply was intentionally sabotaged. Smart move. But we were never known to make sane decisions, so we restart the engine. Hooray! Are we safe now?
Not to be the party defecator, but the asteroid defense system's offline. You might want to handle that.
Whatever. Again, the two bicker over who knew more about this mythical marker. Thankfully, the omens sent by the cosmos promptly silenced them. That's a massive arm. He must be single. We finally meet the man in person, and he orders us to reroute power before the showering rock, which was roused because of the planet-cracking procedure, squishes the ship into a chocolate chip cookie of steel. They say if every muscle in the body is flexed to its limit, you can lift up to 25 tons of weight.
Oh my god.
What do you think? How much is that armored abomination able to lift? The brute. A tank of meat. Whatever you do from the front will be brushed off without a single thought. But you shoot the soft shoulders, saw off the legs, and the beast is no longer a threat. Easy to say when you've handled 40 throughout the years, but what a rush it is when you first encounter the brute. We reroute the power while avoiding intercourse up gravity plates that can take a peaceful walk across the planet crack as a whole, have a turret section, and then stroll back to the tram station. The day saved again. Back to the medical deck. Brings back fond memories.
Wait! Before you pop that crate of champagne bottles open, the air's been fouled by something. You gotta run and fix it.
Hooray!
We're not alone here. Someone is present. Hostile, maybe. Dr. Callus Mercer. He's testing something on a live test subject, and this abomination must be the result. You know it's going to smash that vat open eventually. We grab the sample of the tissue and see the nut job behind this experiment. Mercer, I presume. The hunt begins, and the hunter is immune to everything you can throw at it. The fight brings it to the cryo chamber. Finally, a way to at least incapacitate this necromorph on steroids. You know you will see it again. Hope you have something stronger saved for your next date. The path takes you through the massive hydroponics station, where the source of this breathtaking poison has taken its roots. Thankfully, the suit can temporarily filter it. Your friends aren't so lucky. It is a notably green environment, accompanied by quite a tense and unique soundtrack with a strong presence of animalistic howls and chirps. You eliminate the specialized. There has to be a joke regarding release of lethal gases in enclosed rooms, but I don't want a YouTube death squad sent to my house, so the process is repeated and another tissue sample is taken. The two then are mixed and the path opens up. So, this is where the retired stars of Japanese adult film industry go. Dead Space doesn't have the most riveting, difficult,
or mostly memorable
boss battles, but at least they spice up the action. Shoot the throbbing yellow mass and be happy about yourself when it finally stops attacking. Simple as that. Finally, nothing broken needs repairs and our Seb can turn his attention to the truly important task at hand. luring more bodies for the glorious convergence. To get the bloody intercourse off the ship. For that, we discovered a lone meteor that was supposed to be smelted, and a little distress beacon. A glorious combination. Coming in for an explosive surprise are the glorious kamikaze of the series. The walking joke about Middle Eastern radicals, the exploders.
I guess you can say that massive nugget has an explosive taste.
It's something to die for, eh? A few shots and the volatile mass ignites, which can make short work of anything that's nearby. And as we revel in carnage, we meet our mysterious lady from the recorded message.
So close, yet so far, because someone forgot to press unpause in OBS Studio, and now we lack the footage necessary.
Our Seb lost the miniature gravity tethers, dies once or twice because he forgot that he could simply waltz on the boulder's space-facing side without being torn to shreds. And with that, a message in the rocky bottle sails through the space, with our heroes awaiting their savior.
So? Ah, come on. Tell me what's wrong now.
The satellite is deep fried.
And?
There's a massive piece of biomass firmly lodged onto Ishimura's hull. USM Valor. That's the name of the craft that is supposed to liberate us from the shackles of this waking nightmare. One way to find out. Get to the comms and fix them. Hello, friend. The process flows swimmingly, and out comes a looping message. My liberators, the cavalry has heard our pleas and will descend upon the Ishimura like a militaristic angel. Hell, they even snatch up the ship's escape pods.
Picked up by escape pod? Wait, you don't mean... Oh God, we are so intercoursed.
Why? Surely a single disfigured freak that acts on the basis of instincts couldn't be a threat to a literal army. Oh.
Whatever it is, we need to warn them. You said that the biomass was firmly plugged in our communication holes or something.
Careful now. People might assume that you're the perverted one. But yes, ready for another obligatory boss battle/turret section combo? Funny enough, it's the first half of the battle that's worrying, as the massive tendrils pepper the cockpit with quite an impressive speed. But they get progressively slower as you literally shoot them off. The creature pulls out and intercourses off without even saying goodbye. Typical. The old lady Shimura isn't so easily satisfied, however. Hence, the USM Valor valorantly picks up after the massive necromorph. Still can't bloody believe a crew of trained soldiers couldn't poke a single necromorph full of holes. But hey, the African Seb is back. Apparently, he was lost after the hydroponics incident, but was so insignificant I just remembered to mention that fact in the script. He did stumble upon our one-way ticket off this bloody ship. A damaged shuttle. And the new player who just penetrated the deepest crevices of the planet Cracker may have what we need. The crash dislodged some nuclear ordnance from the craft, necessitating a Chernobyl treatment before entry could be opened up. And here, the horror gets a second wind. Something's off. According to one of these morons, the Valor was not randomly floating through space. It was on a search and destroy mission. Can you guess who were the targets? Everyone wants the mysterious spy. The disease spreads like wildfire, and probable proof that the pathogen propagates even without the infectus, with the latter serving as a simple catalyst of the process. Those were miners and civilians twisted by the infections. These are hulking masses of muscle, young men in the peak of their youth. The stasis modules in their backs underwent change, imbuing the newly born twitchers with frightening speed. As Slasher was rendered a cripple without a single leg, these ones barely lose any combat prowess.
Logically, they take the spot as a primary antagonist here, and to be honest, my sphincter could crack an ice cube in some of the areas. This is the first situation where I genuinely thought God was going to invite me for some tea.
The man who took the captain's life through a dangerous eye operation contacts us, Another survivor, and he thinks that we are the key to end this insanity. But running away will only let this purulent wound fester further. Is this man worth our attention, I wonder? An army of twitchers and a horrible environmental puzzle later will retrieve the MacGuffin that turns the ship dark. The big man appears once again, before being turned into a raw Thanksgiving turkey by a brute mini-boss. Well, these people look like Space Jehovah Witnesses, alright.
A single infector here, and an army will rise in minutes.
Can you hear it? As if the insanity itself has stained these cold walls. It appears our zealous fate has metastasized into the circulation of many a conglomerate. Yes, Jehovah's grafted onto EA, Activision, Google, Amazon, Tencent, whatever financial monster you wish to bring as an example. Our good eye surgeon wishes to know who does our SIP swear allegiance to. The ship cannot take off without 3 nav cards that someone has peppered throughout the place. Our SEP passes the world's most uncomfortable bunk beds and angular toilets. But, hear me out, thankfully it's not all doom and gloom. They have a bar. 1, 2, 3. Well, look who's back. Pretty sure second base isn't something our old friend wants to stop at.
Aw, gone so soon?
It appears that the Jehovahans specifically staffed the ship with their people, apart from a few exceptions, that is. Someone was trying to decipher who those people were. There's a traitor among us. But if they share the same goals with the 90% of the crew, doesn't that mean that we are among them? We find the good doctor and he discloses that something has awoken in the planet's core, and it looks massive. The only way to contain this beast is to return the marker from whence it came.
You chose the wrong place for the 3rd date, mate. I believe you are long due a Harvey Dent procedure.
The test fire of the engines reduces our nigh invulnerable friend to mere pixels, the oculist takes the ship, the hunter's father sacrifices himself to the undead overlords, and our Seb heads out of the cargo hold to retrieve the marker. Down there it will reside. The marker, the shadowy key player of this rusty stage. Standing here, I realize how much I missed the naked bad man that screamed bloody murder, because they all but disappear past the first few chapters. We send our load deep inside the shuttle and get ready for takeoff.
Something's wrong. It's way too easy. Way too quiet. Where's the...
Mop-headed Hawk boy. I'm afraid he betrayed us.
What?
He's inside the shuttle, and returning the artifact to its resting grounds isn't in the priority list. We failed, and it leaves the good doctor with a broken heart.
Oh yeah, I'm the secret bad guy or whatever. Also, this marker's man-made, an experiment of sorts. I'm just retrieving what's rightfully ours or something.
What now? As if on cue, the comms come to life once more, letting her voice reach your ears. She's still here, always has been. Curious, why didn't our mysterious lady announce her presence to the others? There she is, our supposed beacon of hope. Had the protagonist a drop of persona in his hollow shell. The screens light up when we approach them. A great way to conserve energy and increase longevity of tech. Quite an eco-friendly feature. With a single button, we snatch the ship from the embrace of the boundless void, returning it and the monstrous child of man back into the hangar. Our friend has escaped, but...
Something tells me our new companion will be much more pleasant one. I'll head out first and clear the way. Oh, that was fast.
We've arrived on Aegis 7, and thus begins the final objective of the task. Yes, it is in fact an escort mission of an inanimate object. At least, unlike the President's daughter, it can't be harmed and moves only at your own snail's pace.
Logically speaking, the greatest challenge will be offered by this level, because our Thutic Kinesis has to drag this massive, how do you call it, pervert? Erection of metal around one necromorph swarm to your location, nigh endlessly.
Finally, the artifact is in place. We have won.
Oh, come on. How come you haven't seen this coming? And here's this spot where I babble on non-stop about how you're an amazing guy and I'd take you on a date and such. Were it not for the fact that a dozen or so screws I lose in your skull, son.
Excuse me?
Just watch the blasted video from start to bloody finish.
I could talk to you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about everything. I wish I could just talk to someone. It's all falling apart here. I can't believe what's happening. It's strange. Such a little thing. And it all comes down to this one little thing. I didn't want it to end like this.
Oh, look at it. It's displaying emotion. Let me ask you something. Where was this magnificent metamorphosis for the first 9 hours of this damned game?
That means whatever I saw until now
Was a mere illusion. It appears the marker's a master of baiting people into doing its bidding. God, imagine if our boy simply let his lust run wild with this apparition. Wouldn't that be quite awkward from a bystander's perspective?
That's like a lucid wet dream or something?
Quite possible. I have to say, I feel immense pride planting these images into the head of my weary listener. We make our way out and rush towards the shuttle.
Oh my god.
Oh, bloody hell.
So, it has arrived. Massive tendrils quite literally mobbing our enemy into the afterlife, an enormous torso emerging from the depths of Aegis 7, awoken by the man's foolishness.
Well, as long as it has massive pulsating weak spots, I'm not at all against taking this walking natural disaster on.
That's the spirit. While tentacles hit hard and can stack damage if sustained in a short period, you are generally lucky that such a massive monster goes down from a few hundred shots. The creature is defeated. We rush towards the ship, and the Ishimura smashes onto the planet, destabilizing it completely. The marker is destroyed. Victory achieved.
I'm sorry.
But here's the thing. The nightmares won't let that pretty little boy go so easily. Here's the dash of martyrs I mentioned earlier. If you list every chapter in the game, a small phrase can be strung up from their first letters. Wonder what this one can mean.
And the BAFTA goes to Dead Space.
Strong critical reception, a BAFTA award, a spot in top 10 best-selling games, status of a cult classic. What more can you want from a franchise? 1 million copies for a completely new IP back then was impressive, but not EA-level impressive. It and its sibling Mirror's Edge were branded as failures. What they so profoundly failed to grasp was that horror isn't all that mainstream. Only a fraction, a grain of sand in the desert, a drop in an ocean, make it to the public eye. And Dead Space was intended to be a multimedia franchise. A donkey forced to participate in a thoroughbred race. 2 mediocre animations. Then came horrendous prequel comics that looked like 4 girls who were finger painting picked up comic book illustration. Spin-off games? Yes, we have them as well. One being a motion comic and the other being a Nintendo Wii first-person on-rails shooter. It was akin to selling hot tea in the Saharan desert. One day, we'll take a look at them too, I hope. December 7th, 2009. EA announces Dead Space 2, and our little 11-year-old Seb will soon defecate himself from sheer happiness of knowing his favorite game is getting a sequel. 60 million for development, 60 for marketing. January 11, the sequel, my personal favorite of the franchise, launches, innovating on almost every facet of the original. I deeply wish to take a look at it someday. Almost a decade has passed since we had anything new from the franchise, from Glenn himself, who broke free of EA and now works under the PUBG banner. I dreamed about this for so long, and soon we'll be getting not 1, not 2, but maybe 3 Dead Space games. One, a remake of this one, the other, Calypso Protocol, a spiritual successor to this monolithic franchise of terror, with negative atmosphere reaching its bloody talons towards us from the world of indie games. You may think I am jumping on the bandwagon of hype, and you are partly right, but I genuinely love this franchise and wanted to salivate all over it for years. I would give these new ones a shot, but chances are my PC will transform into a box of molten metal, plastic and rubber, even if I tried booting some of them up. Frostbite Engine is notorious for being taxing on the system. Doesn't mean I still won't try to get my hands on them though. And don't worry, I haven't forgotten about the fanfics. Next video I'll be reading stuff about Dead Space.
I regretted the last one. Pretty sure we'll regret this all together.
Speak for yourself, my dear mate. Thank you all so much for sticking together with us. If you like it, do let us know. Maybe even subscribe if you feel like it. A single click for you will equal the world for us. If you have suggestions for fanfics and this type of videos, please do let us know. Chances are they will reach our eyes quite easily. If you wish to enlist our voices for your projects, we will leave our contact information in the description. There will be a voiceover demo out soon, spanning maybe 12 different voices in 3 different languages and multiple accents. Whoever you are, whatever you do, remember to keep that plasma cutter charged, and necromorph decapitated, and a day well spent.